series, but there was some series I watched. Red-headed detective was the main character. She had sort of a streetwise male sidekick, and they were... It might just be called The Killing. And they were investigating a girl's death, and like at the end of every episode there was some sort of twist. And you're like, suddenly a new mystery. Is this gonna happen? Is this guy the bad guy?
I might have seen the first episode. Having mentioned that, I'm reminded of two more shows that I watched. One was called The Fall, and it had the girl who plays Agent Scully in X-Files.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's investigating a serial killer. And that had an overall, like an overarching, slowly escalating storyline. But that was okay, because that was kind of the point. And I think it only lasted like 2 seasons before she caught him. And then that was like the end. And that was pretty interesting to watch. And then there was another one. Nice. It had the guy who played one of the Doctor Who's. It's called, what was it called? No, I can't remember the name of it. I'm going to have to look it up. I want to say Quagmire, but that's not right. And I can't remember the actor's name, so we're going to have to play 6 degrees of my knowledge. So first I have to look up Doctor Who. David Tennant is the actor. Broadchurch. That was the name of the show. So he plays a detective, and they're investigating. So at the beginning of the first episode, some kid dies, and so the arc of the show is them investigating this one murder. And again, same kind of deal where it has just kind of one overarching storyline that eventually ends when they find the killer. So I like that one. And the actor, David Tennant, he naturally has a Scottish accent. He uses just a British accent when he plays Doctor Who, but he uses his Scottish accent in the show, the Broadchurch show.
What's that glowing item there? Do I need that?
It's probably nothing important.
Also, do you ever dust this computer out?
Yeah, seems to collect pretty fast. Sneaky, sneaky. That was awesome.
Third.
Yeah. Oh, nice dodge. So the descriptions of these two, Ornstein is the captain of the Dragon Slayers, and I think, let's see, there's 4 Knights of Gwyn, which I think are also the Dragon Slayers. I don't know. There's some connection. So he's one of the 4 Knights of Gwyn, and Smough wanted to be a part of that group, but he was denied because he's a cannibal.
What are your feelings on slam poetry?
Remind me what that is.
It's when people stand in front of a microphone and say some piece of poetry they've written, and they say it like this.
Why would they do that instead of just reciting poetry normally?
Well, what is normal?
You are the bread and the knife, the crystal goblet and the wine.
Okay, well, you're already changing which words you emphasize. You might as well say it loudly.
So it has as much to do with the presentation as it does the words.
I guess.
I guess I can support that. In being an English major, studying every single aspect of literature, including, particular word choice or presentation or arrangement. It's all something that you study and talk about. So I'm no stranger to that.
That is much easier.
Usually he takes a swing at you earlier. Like we studied, there was one class entirely dedicated to this thing called artist books. Have you ever heard of those?
No.
So it's essentially, like a painting would essentially be a one-off thing, right?
Yeah.
And so an artist book is sort of the same concept where they're just making one of it. And it's kind of it's a presentation rather than just words in a book format. And so there were all sorts of weird artist books. I mean, they weren't always one-off pieces. Sometimes there was a print of like 1,000 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But there are things where there was one where it had a bunch of words on a page, but then there was blue thread that had been sewn in an X pattern over the words to block over some of the words.
Oh.
And so it's like they're cutting out words, but the words are still there, and so the presentation of cutting them out or blocking them off is part of the book. And the fact that it's like blue thread and hand threaded is all part of it. It's really odd.
House of Leaves did stuff like that.
House of Leaves is a very odd book. Have you read that?
I read most of it.
That is, obviously done by an English major. Because it's presented as like a critique of a film, and the critique format is very much the type of thing you read as an English major, and it's got all sorts of footnotes, and even the footnotes have footnotes, and it's got an appendix with all sorts of reference material, and then some words will be crossed out or in red, or erased entirely, or lost, quote unquote lost. It is a very interesting book. very much a presentation.
Does he get away at the end?
Which character?
The guy.
Well, you got to be specific. Are we talking about Johnny Truant, the guy who's arranging the manuscript, or are we talking about Will Navidson of the Navidson Record?
The guy in the house.
So that's Will Navidson, the one making the film, right?
Yeah.
And he leads several expeditions into this endless abyss inside his house. And some people die, and how far did you get in the story?
I don't know. I think he was alone in there. Maybe trapped.
Okay, so he does venture in alone towards the end, and basically just keeps going forward and forward without ever going back. As he goes forward, like it's implied that things, or it's not implied, but it's explicit that things change as you're in there, and so the way back might not be the same, but the further he goes, it seems to change more rapidly, and there will be points where, he'll turn around and, where there was a doorway 2 seconds before, there's now just a wall, and so it's almost like it's pressing him forward and continually trapping him into a smaller and smaller space, and eventually he's left on just like this platform that drops off on all four sides, and his light sources are all out of power, and he's out of food and water, and it's freakishly cold, and he's got like a book that he took with him that he's reading called House of Leaves.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get to that point where he's reading the book? So yeah, he's just on this platform trying to finish this book, and all he's got left are matches. So he's got a little box of matches, and so he lights a match and he reads, a page or two as much as he can before the match burns out, and then he uses the pages that he's read as fuel. So he starts lighting the pages that he's already read, kind of, reminiscent of the house blocking him off from behind. He's now, destroying what he's already been through in the book, so he can finish the rest of the book. And he finally gets to the last page, and he's burning the previous page, and he's down to the last match, and he burns the match box as well. And he finally, I think he has to actually light the last page on fire as he's reading it, just so he can have enough light to read the last few words. And finally, as he finishes it, it all burns up and it's completely gone. And then I think his wife has come back to the house to look for him, and there's no passageway, it's completely closed up, and she goes up to the children's room, and the camera shows that as she's looking around in there, the wall behind her disappears into blackness, and she looks out and sees Will Navidson there, and so she ventures out into the dark, where even though she has claustrophobia, and goes and retrieves him. And so he does make it out, but he gets damaged by it. I think he loses a hand and a foot due to frostbite, and some other physical and mental deformities. But he does make it out and gets back with his family.
Well, I love a happy ending.
Fatty. Welcome to Royal Rumble. In this corner, weighing in at 1,052 pounds, Executioner Smough. Oh boy. And in this corner, don't underestimate him, it's Johnson.
You've seen Fight Club, right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, the guy just reminds me of Bob.
Yay.
Now the fight's over, right?
Yep, we're all done.
Well, that's gonna make things easier. Wish I had a wooden shield.
So this is where I rely on the tactic of trapping him behind the pillars and using a bow.
That's not nerve-wracking at all.
Halfway done.
Is that halfway?
I think so. 7. Oh, almost halfway.
Don't get everyone's hopes up here.
Now we're halfway.
Yeah.
I wonder how much more damage you could do if you hit him in the head.
Yeah, let's certainly try that.
Well, if you can get him stuck to where he's not going side to side, maybe you can try it. I don't think he's stuck. Get out, get out. Run.
We're fine. It's all good.
I don't know if you want to try that anymore.
It's fine.
That's not fun. Oh no. Well, a good effort.
Yes.
You want to stop it for now?
Yes, we do.
Okay.